I burst through the double doors of my parents' Tudor-style home, the evening air clinging to my rain-soaked hair. The chandelier light hits my face, momentarily blinding me as I stumble into their marble foyer. My swollen eyes scan the crowded room where champagne glasses clink against the backdrop of classical music. Mom spots me first. Her smile freezes, then melts into a tight-lipped grimace as she excuses herself from a cluster of well-dressed guests. She glides toward me in her navy silk dress, pearls gleaming at her throat. "Vanessa, not now, we have guests," she hisses, her perfectly manicured hand gripping my elbow. "Blake's engagement party is not the time for whatever this is." Dad appears at her side, jaw clenched beneath his silver beard. "Let's take this somewhere private," he mutters, steering me toward his study while glancing over his shoulder at the curious onlookers. The heavy oak door closes behind us with a solid thud. I stand trembling on the Persian rug, water dripping from my coat onto the polished floor. Mom's eyes follow each droplet as if I'm soiling a museum. "Zoe collapsed at school today," I say, my voice breaking. "They rushed her to Portland Memorial." Dad shifts his weight. "Is she all right?" "No." The word hangs between us. "She has a congenital heart defect. The doctor said without surgery in the next 48 hours she could." My throat closes around the unthinkable. Mom's hand flutters to her chest. "Oh dear. Well, surely your insurance." "I don't have insurance right now," I whisper. "The business has been struggling. I was going to enroll next month when the new client payment came through." Dad's face hardens. "How much?" $95,000. I force the words out. "I've tried everything. The hospital payment plan only covers a fraction. The bank won't approve an emergency loan without collateral." I sink to my knees, something I swore I'd never do in front of them again. I've never asked for anything. Not when Mark lost his job. Not when the roof leaked. Not when I needed startup funds. My hands shake as I reach for Mom's perfectly pressed slacks. "Please help save her. She's your granddaughter." Dad's eyes dart toward Mom. A silent conversation passes between Theme and I've witnessed my entire life but never been part of. Mom sighs, her shoulders dropping slightly. "We simply can't, Vanessa. Blake's wedding is in 3 months. We've already committed to covering the costs." "What costs could possibly?" "Always trying to steal my spotlight, sis?" Blake's voice cuts through the room as he leans against the doorframe, champagne flute dangling between his fingers. His fiancée Lauren hovers behind him, her diamond ring catching the light. "Not now, Blake." I start, but Dad interrupts. "We've already put down $250,000 for the venue, catering, and honeymoon package," he explains as if discussing a reasonable business investment. "Non-refundable deposits." My mind flashes to the hospital room I left just an hour ago. Zoe's small body swallowed by white sheets, the oxygen mask fogging with each labored breath. The crayon drawing clutched in her handstick figures labeled Mommy, Daddy, me, Grandma, and Grandpa, Doctor. Levine's compassionate but firm deadline. "We need payment confirmation by tomorrow afternoon to schedule the surgery." I stare at them, these strangers wearing my parents' faces. Dad checks his watch. Through the door, laughter rises from the party. "Maybe you should have planned better," Mom whispers, adjusting her braceletta family heirloom she promised would be mine someday. "There are consequences to poor financial decisions, Vanessa." I rise slowly, something hardening inside me with each passing second. The desperation that carried me here transforms into something colder, sharper. "My daughter might die, and you're worried about a party?" My voice doesn't sound like my own anymore. Blake snorts, swirling his champagne. "Always so dramatic. Get better insurance next time. Some of us have actual plans for our future." My hands tremble as I reach for Mom's wrist. I unfasten the sapphire bracelet, the one Grandma gave her, the one she dangled as a reward for my good behavior throughout childhood. "Take this back," I say, placing it in her palm and closing her fingers around it. "I'll find another way." Dad clears his throat. "Vanessa, be reasonable. I straighten my spine, shoulders back, chin lifted. I've never seen more clearly in my life. Walking through the crowd of whispering guests, I feel their eyes on my back. Someone murmurs, "Poor Gerald and Monica, that must be the troubled daughter." Another replies, "Such a shame, bringing drama to Blakeshall night." The night air hits my face as I step outside, but I don't feel the cold anymore. My phone buzzes with a text from Mark. "Any luck?" I look back at the glowing windows of my parents' mansion. 6-year-old Zoe's voice echoes in my mind. "Grandma and Grandpa have the biggest house ever. Do they love us big too?" I type my response. "No, but we'll save her anyway. And I will never knock on that door again." I pace our kitchen at midnight, the landline receiver pressed against my ear, my voice hoarse from hours of pleading. The digital clock's red numbers mock me. 46 hours until Dr. Levine's deadline. "Please," I whisper to the loan officer. "My daughter's life depends on this surgery." "I'm sorry, Mrs. Winters. Without collateral or a better credit score." The line clicks dead. Another rejection. I slump against the refrigerator where Zoe's crayon drawings hang by alphabet magnets. Her latest creation shows stick figures holding hands beneath a yellow sun. In the corner, she'd drawn a red heart with wobbly letters. "I told Mommy." Mark enters the kitchen, his eyes hollow with exhaustion. He places a crumpled check on the table. 8,000, he says quietly. "Johnson finally bought the Mustang." I stare at the check. Mark had restored that '67 Mustang over 3 summers, working weekends while I built my business. His father's birthday gift when he turned 16. "Mark, you loved that car." He takes my hand, his calloused thumb tracing circles on my palm. "I love Zoe more." I add the check to our Pioneer Life Savings, Mark's $401k early withdrawal, the Mustang money. $72,000. Still 23,000 short. I drop my head to the table. It's not enough. Mark's arms encircle my shoulders. "We'll find a way." The doorbell rings at 6:13 a.m. I stumble to answer it, still wearing yesterday's clothes. The mortgage rejection letter sticks to my cheek, pulled free by static as I open the door. Tom and Denise Winters stand on our porch. Mark's parents. Tom's weathered face is grim beneath his faded Carhartt cap. Denise clutches a worn leather purse against her floral house address. "Tom, Denise." My voice cracks. "It's early." Tom clears his throat. "Can we come in?" In our living room, they perch awkwardly on the edge of the sofa. Tom's rough hands fidget with his cap. Denise's eyes drift to the photo of Zoe on our mantel gap-toothed smile, strawberry blonde pigtails. Mark appears from the bedroom, surprise flickering across his face. "Mom? Dad? What are you doing here?" "We heard what happened," Tom says, his gruff voice softening. "Called your cell 3 times. "Battery died," Mark mumbles, running a hand through his disheveled hair. Denise reaches for her purse. "How is our grandbaby?" "Stable," I answer, the medical terminology bitter on my tongue. "For now." Tom shifts, boots scuffing our worn carpet. "We got the cabin in Montana." I blink, confused. The cabin, their retirement dream. A 1-room structure on 5 acres of pine forest that Tom built with his own hands 20 years ago. "What about it?" Mark asks. Tom exchanges a look with Denise. "Sold it. Got a decent price." "You what?" Mark's voice rises. "Dad, that cabin was your everything." "No." Tom's eyes, the same deep brown as Mark's, hold steady. "Family is everything." Denise opens her purse, removes an envelope, and places it on our coffee table. $38,000. The room blurs as tears fill my eyes. I stare at the envelope, unable to move. Mark kneels beside his mother. "We can't take this." "You can and you will," Denise says firmly. "This is what family does." The hospital waiting room smells of antiseptic and burnt coffee. I clutch Zoe's stuffed rabbit, its fur worn thin from years of nighttime cuddles. The surgery began 3 hours ago. Mark's hands tremble as he signs the last of the financial forms. The hospital administrator nods, satisfied with our cobbled-together payment. $72,000 from us. $38,000 from Tom and Denise. Less than 48 hours after my parents refused. Tom and Denise sit across from us, a thermos of homemade soup between them. They've barely spoken since arriving, just settled in for the long wait with quiet determination. Hour 10 passes. Then 12. 14. When Dr. Levine finally emerges, surgical cap still on, my heart stops. His tired eyes crinkle. She's going to make it. My phone buzzes a week later. A text from Blake. Mom wants to know if Zoe survived. Also, you're causing drama at my engagement dinner. I stare at the screen. Another text arrives. Dad told the Hamiltons you were too irresponsible to afford proper insurance. My voicemail icon flashes. Gerald's voice fills my ear. Your actions reflect poorly on this family's reputation. I delete it without listening to the rest. The mail arrives that afternoon. Cream envelope, gold embossing. Blake and Lauren's wedding invitation, addressed only to Vanessa. No mention of Zoe, no mention of Mark. In Zoe's hospital room, Tom sits beside her bed, teaching her to cast an imaginary fishing line. Her IV bruised arm follows his movements. When you're better, he promises, we'll take you to real water. Zoe giggles. Can I catch a shark? Start with trout, Tom winks. Work your way up. Denise bustles in with another container of homemade stew. She's brought a different meal every day, filling our refrigerator with labeled containers of comfort food. Mark enters behind her, arms full of Zoe's school books. He's been handling childcare, household duties, and supporting my clients while I keep hospital vigil. I watch them, this circle of love around my daughter. No designer clothes or country club memberships. Just steadfast presence when it matters most. The truth settles in my chest. Blood doesn't make family. Love does. Between Zoe's treatments, I sketch new designs at her bedside. My employees drop by with meals and updates on projects they've covered in my absence. Clients send flowers. Neighbors organize meal trains. Mark's coworkers donate vacation days so he can stay home longer. This small community wraps around us like a protective shield. I record each kindness in Zoe's journal, proof that goodness exists beyond the walls of my parents' mansion. As Zoe sleeps, I make a promise to myself. I will never be vulnerable like this again. Not financially, not emotionally. And when I rise from these ashes, I'll remember who was there to fan the flames of hope and who left us to burn. The desk lamp casts a halo around my sketches as midnight creeps toward 1. My eyes burn. 3 cups of cold coffee form a half moon around my workspace, casualties of concentration. Through the doorway, Zoe sleeps on the pull-out couch, her small chest rising and falling beneath her favorite Wonder Woman pajamasa gift from Tom after her surgery 4 months ago. I stretch my cramping fingers and glance at the wall calendar, red X's marching across the days. Mortgage payment, 2 weeks overdue. Electric bill. Final notice. Design supplies. Charged to the credit card already maxed from hospital copays. But we're still here. Still fighting. The scar on Zoe's chest has faded from angry red to pale pink. Her laughter fills our apartment again. The nightmares about beeping monitors and oxygen masks have mostly stopped for her anyway. On the drafting table, my designs for the Westbrook Hotel's pitch swim before my tired eyes. Local boutique chain, 7 locations, complete interior redesign. Budget, $1.8 million. Competition. 3 established firms with impressive portfolios and actual offices, not kitchen tables doubling as workspaces. My phone buzzes. Mark's text reads, "Don't stay up all night. They'd be crazy not to pick you." I almost believe him. "You look like you need this more than me," Denise says, pressing a travel mug of coffee into my hands the next morning. She and Tom arrived at dawn, ready for grandparent duty while I prepare for the biggest pitch of my career. Tom's already on the floor with Zoe, helping her build a fort from couch cushions. His arthritis must be screaming, but he'd never say a word. What if I blow this? I whisper to Denise, my voice catching. Her weathered hands frame my face. Then you'll find another opportunity, but you won't blow it. She straightens my blazer collar. You remind me of the dogwood outside our first house. Storm knocked it sideways, but it grew back stronger. Different angle, but even more beautiful. Tom looks up from the fort. Knock 'em dead, kiddo. Zoe races over, wrapping herself around my legs. Make pretty buildings, Mommy. I drop to one knee, holding her small shoulders. I'll be back before dinner. Grandpa's making his famous sketty, she says, with solemn importance. I kiss her forehead, breathe in her little girl scent of strawberry shampoo and Play-Doh, and stand to face the day. The Westbrook Hotel's conference room intimidates with its wall of windows overlooking downtown Portland. 5 executives in tailored suits examine my modest portfolio while I set up my presentation. My hands tremble slightly as I arrange material samples on the gleaming table. Miss Winters, the CEO begins. Your firm is considerably smaller than the others we're considering. He glances at my proposal. In fact, I'm not seeing evidence of a firm at all. Just you? The room chills by 10 degrees. I force myself to meet his eyes. Currently, yes, but that's about to change. A skeptical silence settles over the room. I take a deep breath and begin. Hotels aren't just places to sleep, I say, unveiling my concept boards. They're where people shelter during life's biggest moments, the first night of honeymoons, family reunions, business triumphs, sometimes even grief. The marketing director's phone vibrates. She glances at it, dismisses the notification. I continue despite the sinking feeling in my stomach. The difference between a forgettable stay and a memorable one isn't thread count or lobby size. It's whether a space feels like it was created for humans or for photographs. I reveal my designs, room-by-room spaces with secret reading nooks, family suites with thoughtful touches for kids, business rooms with adjustable lighting that combats time zone fatigue. The financial officer checks his watch. Time for my final play. I pull out photos of Tom and Denise's cabin before and after my redesign. Last year, my in-laws sold their cabin to help pay for my daughter's heart surgery after my parents refused to help. When my daughter recovered, I redesigned their new place as thanks. The room stills. Even the financial officer looks up. I didn't just replace what they lost. I built what they deserve at a space that honors who they are. I gesture to the details, the custom fishing rod storage, the kitchen island sized for Denise's pie making, the window seat perfectly angled for Tom's bird watching. That's what I do. I create spaces that remember the humans who inhabit them. The CEO leans forward. Why do you deserve this contract, Miss Winters? The question hangs in the air. I think of Zoe in her hospital bed, of Tom with cushion forts, of Mark selling his vintage Mustang without hesitation. Because I've learned what matters, I answer simply, and it's not what most people think. The notification chimes while I'm washing dinner dishes 3 days later. Mark stops mid-sentence, watching my face as I check my phone. Westbrook Hotels is pleased to inform you. Accepted your proposal. Contract delivery tomorrow. $1.8 million initial phase. The phone slips from my fingers. Mark catches it, reads the screen, and lets out a whoop that brings Zoe running from her bedroom. He lifts me off my feet, spinning me in circles while I sob and laugh simultaneously. Zoe dances around us, caught in our jubilation, without understanding its source. We did it, I breathe into Mark's shoulder. We actually did it. 6 months later, I stand in the doorway of my actual office. Not a corner of the living room, not a borrowed desk in someone else's building. Winters Design Studio etched in frosted glass on the door. Behind me, 3 designers work at their stations. The Seattle expansion opens next month. 4 more hires pending. My phone buzzes with a text from Blake. Heard about your success. Mom and Dad talking about reaching out. Thought you should know. I delete it without responding. A package sits on my desk. Inside is a framed photo Tom, Denise, Mark, Zoe, and me on the porch of their new cabin, twice the size of the one they sacrificed. My first major purchase after the Westbrook contract. Another text arrives. Dad asking about family investment opportunity. For your information. I smile, thinking of the magazine interview I gave yesterday. The journalist seemed particularly interested in how I built my business without family support. The phone rings me assistant letting me know the Seattle contractor is on line 1. Take a message, I tell her. I'm heading home early for my daughter's birthday party. I gather my things, looking once more at the photo on my desk. Tom and Denise will be waiting at our house, helping Mark with decorations. Zoe's school friends will arrive at 4. Her real grandparents, as she calls them, have planned a treasure hunt in the backyard. Later, when cake has been eaten and presents opened, Mark finds me on the porch steps. Everything okay? He asks, settling beside me. I look at our home, filled with laughter and light, at the people who showed up when it mattered most. We built this together, I tell him, taking his hand. All of us. My phone buzzes against the marble countertop of my kitchen. A notification from LinkedIn. I swipe it open, then freeze. There it is, my face staring back at me from the digital cover of Entrepreneur magazine. The headline reads, Rising from the Ashes, How Tragedy Sparked a Design Revolution. The knot in my stomach tightens, then releases. 3 years of work, blood, and tears captured in a single glossy image. Mark comes up behind me, his hands warm on my shoulders. It's real, he whispers. It's real, I echo, my voice catching. I scroll down to the pull quote they've highlighted in bold. My own parents let my daughter suffer for a party. That's when I realized blood doesn't define family. The truth sits there, undisguised and raw. The words I spoke during the interview without flinching. No pseudonyms, no vague references. Just the unvarnished reality of that rainy night when my parents chose Blake's wedding over Zoe's life. Any regrets? Mark asks, his thumb tracing circles on my shoulder blade. Not one. By afternoon, my phone won't stop ringing. The article has been shared over 20,000 times. Business influencers I've admired for years are praising my integrity in the face of impossible choices. 3 podcast invitations arrive before lunch. Mom, why is your picture everywhere? Zoe asks, her small finger pointing at my laptop screen where another share notification pops up. I lift her onto my lap, her healthy heart beating against mine. Remember how I told you that sometimes stories help other people feel brave? She nods, solemn. At 9, she understands more than I sometimes wish she did. Well, I told our story. The first hint of fallout comes from an unexpected source, Elaine Withers, who sits on the same charity board as Monica. She calls me directly. I don't know if I should tell you this, she starts, voice lowered as if someone might overhear. The Palmers didn't come to the spring fundraiser. Gerald claimed they had another engagement, but Elizabeth saw them pull up to the country club, then turn around and leave when they spotted the Hendersons. I say nothing, letting her continue. Rumor has it their furniture store has lost 3 corporate accounts in the last month. People talk, Vanessa, and after that article, I thank her for the call, keeping my voice neutral. But after hanging up, I don't feel the rush of satisfaction I'd imagined. Just a hollow sort of completion, like turning the final page of a book you've waited years to finish. A text from Lauren, Blake's wife of 2 years, arrives next. Just read your story. Blake never told me. Is it really true? 2 days later, while reviewing blueprints for our Denver expansion, my assistant interrupts with news from Mark's cousin who works at Blake's firm. He didn't get the promotion, she says, eyes wide. Apparently his boss read the article and questioned his character and judgment. Blake threw a fit, accused you of sabotaging him. I look around my growing office, a team of 16 designers working at their stations, the wall of awards for our healthcare facility designs, the framed mission statement about creating spaces that heal. None of this built on vengeance. all of it constructed on the foundation that crisis revealed. By summer, our company opens offices in Denver and San Diego. The feature on Good Morning America focuses not on family drama, but on our commitment to hiring single parents and providing full health care from day one of employment. Your health insurance policy costs more than industry standard, the interviewer points out. Doesn't that cut into your profits? I think of Zoe's scar, a thin white line down her chest. Some costs are investments, not expenses. The Heart Foundation's first fundraiser raises enough for 12 children's surgeries. Tom gives a tearful speech about second chances, his weathered hands gripping the podium. Denise snaps photos of everything, her pride radiating brighter than the ballroom chandeliers. Our new home sits on 3 acres just outside the city. 6 bedrooms, a studio for my design work, and an east wing built specifically for Tom and Denise. The moving trucks have barely left when Zoe races through the house, discovering each new room with gasps and giggles. I get to see Grandma and Grandpa every day, she shouts, running back to hug Tom's legs as he arranges books on a shelf. Mark watches from the doorway, arms crossed, eyes soft. Later, he finds me on the back porch and hands me a glass of wine. You built this, he says simply. All of it. We built it, I correct him, leaning into his solid presence. The news about Blake arrives through Lauren herself, standing at my office door without an appointment. I filed for divorce yesterday, she states, twisting the diamond ring on her finger. After I read your article, I started seeing things differently. The way he talked about his colleagues, his contempt for anyone struggling. Then I found messages to a waitress. She shakes her head. Your story gave me courage. A month later, a business newsletter reports that Palmer Furnishings has filed for bankruptcy protection. The next day, a realtor friend sends a listing my parents' Tudor mansion with its marble foyer and crystal chandelier. The asking price nowhere near its value. Enclosure, the subject line reads. I delete the email without opening it. The voicemails start in October. First from Monica, her voice tight and controlled despite the circumstances. Then from Gerald, less composed with each message. I listen to each one once, then erase them, watching the notifications disappear one by one. Until the last one, left at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Vanessa, please, Gerald's voice cracks. We have nowhere else to turn. I play it twice. The man who checked his watch while I begged for my daughter's life, now begging for my attention. I set the phone down and walked to the window, watching the autumn leaves spiral to the ground. My finger hovers over the callback button. Sunlight slices through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, casting long shadows across Italian marble. I adjust the black leather suitcase on my desk, centering it perfectly between the crystal paperweight and my Mont Blanc pen. The weight of what's inside doesn't match its sleek exterior. Miss Winters? My assistant's voice breaks through the intercom. Your parents have arrived. Send them in. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. The double doors open, and I barely recognize the 2 people who enter. Dad's silver hair has thinned, his shoulders stooped beneath his discount department store blazer. Mom clutches her knockoff handbag, her once perfect makeup applied with a shaky hand. Their eyes dart around my office, taking in the minimalist furniture, the views of downtown Portland, the evidence of everything they're not anymore. Thank you for seeing us, Vanessa. Dad attempts his boardroom voice, but it cracks around the edges. You've done quite well for yourself. Mom nods too quickly. The magazine features. Lovely. I gesture to the chairs across from my desk. They sit in unison, the choreography of the desperate. Dad clears his throat, leaning forward with hands clasped, the same posture he used when negotiating with suppliers. Family should stick together in difficult times. We're in trouble, sweetheart. Mom's voice wavers. The bank is foreclosing on the house. We owe almost $160,000. The economy hasn't been kind to traditional furniture stores. Dad's eyes fix on a point just past my shoulder. Online retailers have changed everything. Your success is remarkable, Mom adds, forcing brightness into her tone. We always knew you had potential. The rehearsed compliment hangs between us. If you had just explained how serious Zoe's condition was, Dad says, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, we might have understood better. It happened so fast, and with Blake's engagement that night. My gaze shifts to the framed photographs on my desk. Zoe in her hospital bed, small fingers clutching the stuffed rabbit Tom gave her. The heart monitor tracker still visible on her tiny wrist. Another frame holds Tom and Denise at Zoe's kindergarten graduation, their weathered faces beaming. Beyond them stand 3 crystal awards from the Children's Heart Foundation I established last year. 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days, I say. They exchange glances. That's how long it's been since the night of Blake's engagement party. Dad shifts in his seat. Vanessa. It was raining. I came to you soaking wet. My shoes squeaked on your marble floor. My voice remains calm, factual. Mom, you said, we simply can't, Vanessa. Blake's wedding is in 3 months. Her face pales. I don't think those were my exact. Dad, you explained that you'd already spent $250,000 on Blake's wedding. Non-refundable deposits. His jaw tightens. Now that's not. I reach for my phone, tapping the screen before setting it on the desk. Gerald's voice fills the room. Vanessa, your irresponsible financial decisions aren't our problem. Blake manages his money properly. Perhaps you should take notes instead of asking for handouts. It reflects poorly on this family's reputation. The recording ends. Silence stretches between us. Did you ever once visit Zoe in the hospital? I ask. Mom's eyes drop to her lap. Dad's throat works soundlessly. Mark's parents sold their cabin, their retirement dream, to help save their granddaughter. Tom sat in that waiting room for 14 hours straight. Denise learned to change Zoe's bandages and monitor her medication. They showed up. I stand, my palms flat against the cool surface of my desk. Do you know what Zoe asked me after she recovered? Why don't Grandma and Grandpa love me like Grandma Denise and Grandpa Tom? Mom's mascara smears as tears track down her cheeks. With steady hands, I slide the suitcase across the desk toward them. Take it, I say, and leave. From this moment on, I'm no longer your daughter. Dad's fingers tremble as he unlatches the case. Inside, neatly stacked bills fill every corner. $160,000, I tell them. Exactly what you need, not a penny more. Vanessa, Mom starts. This isn't forgiveness, I cut her off. It's freedom. Mine. They stand slowly, Dad clutching the suitcase like a life preserver. Their reflections distort in the polished marble as they walk to the door, shoulders bent with the weight of their shame. When the doors close behind them, I remain standing until the sun dips below the skyline, painting my office in amber and shadow. My fingers brush across Zoe's photo, then Tom and Denise's. For years I carried the weight of their rejection like stones in my pockets, dragging me under. Not anymore. It's finally over, I whisper to the empty room. And for the first time since that rainy night, I feel the truth of those words in my bones. Not a weight lifts, a chain breaks. I watch Tom flip burgers on the grill, his weathered hands guiding Zoe's smaller ones on the spatula. She squeals with delight as flames leap up when the patty turns. That's it, kiddo. You've got the touch, he says, ruffling her hair. The late afternoon sun spills across our backyard, casting long shadows over the picnic table where Denise and Mark arrange plates, napkins, and condiments with easy familiarity. Their laughter carries across the lawn, a soundtrack I once thought belonged only in movies about other people's lives. Mom, Grandpa says I'm the best burger flipper in 3 states, Zoe calls out, her voice strong and clear, no trace of the fragile whisper that haunted hospital corridors 2 years ago. Only 3? I call back, reaching for the lemonade pitcher. I'd say at least 5. Mark catches my eye across the yard and winks. The smile lines around his eyes deepen, telling a story of weathered storms and unexpected sunshine. The garden gate swings open as the neighbors arrive with a homemade apple pie. Our small gathering swells with voices and movement chosen family, expanding in concentric circles of warmth. Later, while Tom serves ice cream, Zoe tugs at my sleeve. She thrusts a paper into my hands, crayon colors bright against the white background. "I made us," she announces. 5 figures stand hand in hand beneath the yellow sun. Mark me, Zoe in the middle, Tom and Denise flanking us. Each face bears a wide rainbow smile. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." My finger traces the drawing. Zoe's brow furrows. "Lily at school has 2 grandmas and 2 grandpas. How come I only have 1 set?" The question catches in my throat. I kneel to your eyes, those eyes so like mine. "Family isn't always about who shares your blood," I say, choosing words with the care of someone who knows their weight. "Sometimes it's about who chooses to love you no matter what." Her 7-year-old wisdom considers this. Like how Grandpa Tom taught me to fish in my hospital bed. Exactly like that. She nods, satisfied, and runs off to help Denise serve pie. Mark hands me an envelope that arrived in today's mail. Lauren's return address surprises me. Inside, a card thanks me for the foundation grant funding her new therapy practice. She mentions Blake struggling but finally facing his mistakes. My parents live in a small apartment now, their mansion long gone. The mention stirs nothing in me, neither satisfaction nor sorrow. I watch my company's summer picnic set up in the park across the street, 50 employees and their families gathering under banners announcing full healthcare coverage for all. 3 scholarship recipients from our design program help arrange tables. Their backgrounds mirror my own struggle, but their futures hold more promise. From the porch steps, I observe Zoe at the piano Tom bought her last Christmas. Her fingers, once tethered to ivy lines, now dance across keys. The heart monitor that once tracked her survival sits in a memory box upstairs, a reminder of what almost was and what is. My gratitude journal lies open beside me. Today's entry simply reads, "I have everything that matters." Golden light bathes all of us as the sun begins its descent, not the cold gleam of wealth, but the warm glow of enoughness. I once thought revenge would feel like victory the moment my parents realized what they'd lost. But true peace came from building something meaningful instead of destroying what hurt me. The greatest revenge wasn't in their downfall, but in creating happiness they couldn't touch. My gaze sweeps over a mismatched, perfectly complete circle. Family isn't who owes you. It's who shows up.